The Crimson Empire's discovery, the galaxy's most feared rulers. The Zephyrian Crimson Empire had ruled the galaxy for 5,000 years, and Commander Thane Vortak intended to keep it that way for 5,000 more. Standing on the command deck of his flagship, the Bloodstar Dominion, he watched through massive viewing ports as his fleet of 800 warships moved through the void like predators stalking prey. Each vessel gleamed with crimson armor that had been forged from the bones of conquered worlds, and their weapons could turn entire planets into cosmic dust. Thane's forearms moved gracefully as he reviewed daily reports from across the Empire's 50,000 star systems. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world where only the strongest survived, resulting in beings that stood 12 feet tall with natural armor plating and redundant organ systems. The Zephyrians had conquered the galaxy not through superior technology, but through sheer physical dominance and an unbreakable will to rule. The bridge crew worked in perfect silence around him. Junior officers with 3 arms handled routine communications, while senior commanders with 4 arms managed fleet operations. In Zephyrian society, the number of arms determined rank and authority. Thane's rare 4-armed physique had made him the youngest fleet commander in Imperial history, and he planned to use that position to expand the Empire even further into unexplored space. An unexpected discovery, Commander. "We are receiving unusual transmissions from the Outer Rim," reported Sub-Commander Crix, his 3 arms dancing over holographic controls. The signals appear to be from an unregistered species calling themselves humans. Thane's primary eyes focused on the data stream, while his secondary eyes continued monitoring fleet status. The transmissions were crude by Zephyrian standards, but they contained detailed star charts and colony reports. According to the intercepted data, these humans had somehow established settlements on 23 worlds without Imperial permission. "How long have they been transmitting?" Thane asked, his voice carrying the natural authority of someone born to command. "Analysis suggests approximately 40 Earth years, Commander. They appear to have spread from a single world in what they call the Sol System." This was impossible. No species could establish that many colonies without the Empire detecting them. The Crimson Fleet maintained monitoring stations throughout the galaxy specifically to prevent unauthorized expansion. Yet somehow these humans had built an interstellar civilization right under Zephyrian noses. Thane studied the star charts with growing interest. The Sol System sat in a region the Empire had avoided for millennia due to ancient navigation warnings. The area was marked as containing unstable space-time anomalies that could destroy entire fleets. But if humans had been living there for thousands of years, those warnings were clearly outdated. Earth's hidden secrets 7 light years away. Dr. Sarah Chen crawled through the ancient tunnels beneath Mars Colony 7, her headlamp cutting through darkness that had persisted for millions of years. As Earth's leading archaeologist, she had been called to investigate structures discovered during routine mining operations. What the miners had found defied explanation. The tunnels were too perfect, too geometrically precise to be natural formations. Walls of black metal stretched in perfect curves, and the air carried a metallic taste that made Sarah's instruments register energy signatures they couldn't identify. But most disturbing were the symbols carved into every surface. Complex, geometric patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," called her assistant, Dr. Marcus Webb, from deeper in the tunnel system. His voice echoed strangely in the alien architecture, as if the walls themselves were listening. Sarah found Marcus standing in a vast chamber filled with towering columns of the same black metal. Each column pulsed with faint red light, creating shadows that danced across walls covered in more geometric symbols. At the center of the chamber sat a single pedestal holding what appeared to be a crystalline data storage device. "How old is this place?" Marcus whispered, his voice filled with awe and fear. Sarah ran her carbon dating equipment over the nearest wall. The readings made no sense. According to her instruments, the structure was over 4 million years old, but the energy signatures suggested it had been active within the last century. "Marcus, start recording everything. Send copies to Earth Defense Command and the Colonial Authority. If this place is what I think it is, we're not alone in the galaxy. We never have been." The sleeping giant stirs Captain Rex Thunder had commanded Earth Defense Force ships for 15 years, but he had never received orders like these. His cruiser, the Pacific Storm, hung in Earth orbit while ground-based sensors detected massive energy buildups across every continent. The readings centered on locations that had been marked as geologically interesting but otherwise unremarkable. Now those same locations blazed with power signatures that dwarfed Earth's largest fusion reactors. "Captain, we're detecting movement." At Site 7, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from the sensor station. "Something large is rising from beneath the Sahara Desert." Rex watched the tactical display as satellite imagery updated in real time. The sand was shifting across a 100-square-kilometer area, revealing the outline of structures that had been hidden beneath the surface. Similar reports came in from sites in Siberia, the Amazon rainforest, the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, and dozens of other locations worldwide. "Sir, Admiral Martinez is requesting your immediate presence at Earth Defense Headquarters," Foster continued. "Priority Alpha clearance required." Rex had held Priority Alpha clearance for only 6 months, and this was the first time he'd been asked to use it. As his shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, he could see the construction sites with his own eyes. Massive structures were emerging from beneath the surface, their surfaces gleaming with the same black metal Dr. Chen had found on Mars. At Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral Carlos Martinez looked like he hadn't slept in days. The walls of his office displayed real-time footage from emergent sites around the globe, and every screen showed the same impossible sight. Earth was revealing technologies that humanity had never built. "Captain Thunder, what I'm about to tell you is classified." At the highest levels, Martinez began, his voice grim. 3 days ago, we received a transmission from our deep space monitoring stations. We're not alone in the galaxy, and our new neighbors are not friendly." Rex felt his stomach drop as Martinez activated a holographic display showing the intercepted Zephyrian transmissions. The alien language was incomprehensible, but the computer translations were clear enough. The Crimson Empire demanded Earth's immediate surrender and the relocation of all human colonies to designated reservation worlds. "They're giving us 72 hours to respond," Martinez continued. "After that, they're sending what they call a punishment fleet to demonstrate why resistance is futile." Ancient warnings come to light back on Mars. Dr. Chen worked frantically to decode the crystalline device she had found in the ancient chamber. Her portable computers struggled to process the alien data structures, but slowly patterns began to emerge. The device contained star charts spanning millions of years, showing the rise and fall of galactic civilizations. The Zephyrian Crimson Empire appeared in the records as a recurring threat that had conquered and enslaved hundreds of species throughout galactic history. But the charts also showed something else. Earth's solar system was marked with warning symbols that roughly translated to forbidden Guardian Protocol, active. Sarah, look at this, Marcus called from across the chamber. He had been working on translating the wall symbols using the crystalline device as a reference. I think these aren't just decorations, they're instructions. The symbols formed a complex narrative about an ancient war between the Zephyrians and a coalition of species that had refused to submit to imperial rule. The coalition had been losing badly until they developed something called the Guardian Protocol. The final entries described a desperate plan to seed defensive systems throughout the galaxy, with Earth chosen as the primary control center. Sarah felt her blood run cold as she realized the implications. Earth wasn't just another planet that had evolved intelligent life. It was a weapons platform that had been dormant for millions of years, waiting for the Zephyrians to return. Marcus, we need to get this information to Earth immediately, I think. Our planet is about to remember what it was built for. The Empire's ultimatum commander Thane Vortak stood before the assembled leaders of his punishment fleet, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of absolute authority. 200 of the Empire's most powerful warships floated in formation around the Bloodstar Dominion, each one capable of sterilizing entire worlds. The human colonies would fall within days, and Earth itself would serve as an example to any other species that might consider defying imperial rule. The humans have had sufficient time to consider our generous offer, Thane announced, his voice carrying across all fleet communications. They have chosen to remain silent, which we interpret as an act of defiance. We will now demonstrate why the Crimson Empire has ruled unchallenged for 5 millennia. The fleet began moving toward the Sol system, their engines leaving trails of crimson energy in the void. Long-range sensors showed the human homeworld as a blue marble orbiting a yellow star, utterly defenseless and ripe for conquest. Intelligence. Reports indicated that humanity's most powerful weapons were crude nuclear devices that couldn't even scratch Zephyrian armor. But as the fleet approached the edge of the solar system, Thane's sensors began detecting anomalies. Energy signatures that shouldn't exist were emanating from the third planet, and similar readings came from structures throughout the system. The asteroid belt showed signs of artificial construction, and even the planet's moon displayed geometric patterns that could only be technological in origin. Sub-Commander Crix, what are your sensors telling you about the human defenses? Thane demanded. Crix's 3 arms moved frantically over his controls as data flooded the ship's computers. Commander, the readings are ... unprecedented. The entire system appears to be some kind of massive defensive installation. Power levels are increasing exponentially, and we're detecting the emergence of structures that weren't there an hour ago. Thane felt the first stirring of unease in his perfectly ordered mind. In 5,000 years of imperial expansion, no species had ever presented them with technology they couldn't understand. The humans were supposed to be primitives who had barely learned to leave their homeworld. Yet the sensor readings suggested they commanded energies that rivaled the Empire's greatest achievements. Maintain course, he ordered, though his confidence wavered slightly. No primitive species can stand against the might of the Crimson Fleet. But deep in space between Mars and Jupiter, ancient systems that had Earth's Leviathan awakens the ancient truth revealed. Dr. Sarah Chun's hands trembled as she uploaded the final translation from the Martian crystalline device to Earth Defense Command. The truth was more terrifying and magnificent than anyone could have imagined. Earth had never been a natural world where humans evolved through random chance. It was a carefully engineered fortress, and humanity itself was the result. of 4 million years of genetic programming designed to create the perfect guardians. Admiral Martinez, you need to see this immediately. Sarah transmitted from her underground laboratory on Mars. The ancient chamber around her now blazed with activated systems, their red light casting dancing shadows on walls covered with tactical displays that are updated in real time. The crystalline device had revealed everything. Long ago, a coalition of free species had fought desperately against the expanding Zephyrian Empire. As defeat became inevitable, they had implemented a final protocol. Using technology that bent space and time itself, they had seeded defensive installations throughout the galaxy and created a guardian species that would activate only when the Zephyrians returned to threaten the cosmos again. The humans aren't just another intelligent species. Sarah explained to the emergency council session being held simultaneously on Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. We're living weapons systems. Our curiosity, our drive to explore, our ability to adapt and survive in hostile environments. It's all by design. We were programmed to spread across the galaxy and establish the infrastructure needed for Project Titan. Admiral Martinez studied the data streams flowing across his command center's displays. Every human colony world was reporting the emergence of similar structures to those appearing on Earth. Massive installations were rising from beneath the surfaces of New Texas, Haven Colony, and even the mining platforms in the Asteroid Belt project. Titan activates. Captain Rex Thunder watched in awe as the structure emerging from the Sahara Desert revealed its true purpose. What had appeared to be a simple geometric building was actually the tip of something impossibly vast. Seismic readings indicated the installation extended nearly to Earth's core, with manufacturing facilities and weapon systems that dwarfed anything in human technology. Captain, we're receiving automated signals from all emergent sites, reported Lieutenant Foster, her voice filled with wonder and fear. The installations are requesting genetic confirmation from human personnel. They want us to interface with them directly. Rex felt a strange tingling in his mind as he approached the main console of the Sahara installation. The moment his hands touched the alien controls, information flooded his consciousness. Tactical data about the approaching Zephyrian fleet, weapon specifications for technologies that shouldn't exist, and most importantly, the knowledge that he was genetically coded to command Earth's defensive grid. Similar scenes played out across the planet as other human military officers found themselves instinctively understanding alien technology that had been waiting millions of years for their touch. The installations responded to human presence like sleeping giants awakening to the call of their creators. Dr. Marcus Webb, working alongside Sarah in the Martian facility, gasped as his own genetic lock engaged with the alien systems. Sarah, I can see their fleet, 200 ships approaching the outer solar system, but I can also see ... something else. The installations aren't just weapons, they're factories. The Crimson Fleet Advances Commander, Thane Vortek, maintained his confidence even as his sensors painted an increasingly disturbing picture of the Sol system. What had appeared to be a primitive human civilization was revealing technology that registered as beyond imperial understanding. Energy signatures from the third planet now exceeded the output of small stars, and artificial structures were materializing throughout the system, as if matter itself was being reshaped by unknown forces. Sub-Commander Crix, deploy advanced reconnaissance. Drones, Thane ordered. I want detailed scans of these installations before we proceed with the assault. The Zephyrian drones were technological marvels, capable of analyzing enemy defenses down to the molecular level. But as they approached the inner solar system, they began transmitting data that made no sense. The installations weren't just using advanced technology, they were manufacturing new devices in real time, creating defensive systems that adapted and evolved with each passing moment. "Commander, the human installations appear to be learning," Crix reported, his three arms moving uncertainly over controls that had never displayed such readings before. "Each time our drones scan a defensive platform, it immediately begins producing countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize our weapons." Thane studied the tactical displays with growing unease. The Empire's weapons were based on plasma, technology that had remained unchanged for millennia because nothing could resist their power. Yet the human installations were somehow analyzing the plasma signatures and developing defensive matrices that could deflect or absorb the energy entirely. Earth's biomechanical army emerged. The first wave of Earth's guardians emerged from the Pacific Ocean installation with a grace that belied their incredible size. The bioships were living creatures merged with advanced technology, their hulls rippling with organic surfaces that could repair damage in seconds, while their mechanical components generated weapon systems that defied known physics. Captain Thunder, now serving as Earth's primary tactical coordinator through his neural link with the planetary defense grid, watched the deployment with amazement. Each bioship was unique, evolved for specific combat roles. Some were sleek interceptors, designed for speed and maneuverability, while others were massive carriers that could manufacture smaller fighting craft within their organic wombs. "Admiral Martinez, the 1st Guardian Squadron is ready for deployment," Thunder reported. "The bioships are requesting permission to engage the Zephyrian advanced scouts." Martinez nodded grimly from his position in the enhanced command center that had grown around Earth Defense Headquarters like living crystal. The building itself had been transformed by the awakening installations, its walls now displaying real-time tactical information from across the solar system. "Permission granted, Captain. Show the Crimson Empire what happens when they threaten Earth's children." The bioships moved through space with fluid motions that made traditional starship maneuvers look clumsy by comparison. They flowed around asteroids like schools of fish, their surfaces adapting to absorb or reflect different types of energy. When they encountered the Zephyrian scout ships, the battle was over before the Imperial forces could respond. Zephyrian plasma weapons struck bioship hulls and were absorbed, their energy converted into power for even more devastating return strikes. Biomechanical tendrils reached out to ensnare enemy vessels, while weapon systems that resembled living creatures discharged energies that turned Imperial armor into harmless gas. Slumbered for 4 million years began to pulse with awakening power. Earth's Leviathan was stirring, and the galaxy was about to witness the return of humanity's true guardians. The Empire's first taste of defeat. Commander Crix watched in horror as his scout squadron was systematically destroyed by creatures that seemed to mock everything the Empire understood about warfare. The bioships didn't just win battles, they consumed their defeated enemies, using Zephyrian technology and materials to grow stronger and more numerous. "Commander Thane, we must retreat," Crix urged, his 3 arms shaking as he processed the battle reports. "These aren't humans, they're something far more dangerous." But Thane's pride wouldn't allow retreat. The Crimson Empire had never been defeated, and he wouldn't be the first commander to flee from primitives. Deploy the full battle fleet, whatever these creatures are, they cannot stand against 200 Imperial warships. The main Zephyrian fleet engaged Earth's guardians in the space between Mars and Jupiter, and for a brief moment, it seemed like Imperial firepower might prevail. Coordinated plasma strikes from dozens of warships managed to damage several bioships, their organic hulls burning under the concentrated assault, but the damaged Guardians simply retreated to nearby installations and emerged minutes later, fully healed and equipped with new defensive systems specifically designed to counter Zephyrian plasma technology. Worse, each battle taught the bioships new tactics, and they began coordinating their attacks with an intelligence that surpassed even Imperial battle computers. The Guardian, Swarmdar, Sarah Chen, watched the battle unfold from her position in the Martian command center, her consciousness now fully integrated with the ancient systems. Through the Guardian network, she could perceive the entire solar system as a single living entity responding to the Zephyrian threat. Marcus, the installations aren't just manufacturing ships, she said, her voice filled with awe. They're creating an entire ecosystem. The bioships are reproducing, evolving, adapting faster than the Zephyrians can counter them. The asteroid belt had become a massive nursery where Guardian creatures of every conceivable design were being born. Some were tiny fighters no larger than missiles, while others were mobile platforms the size of cities. All of them shared the same adaptive biology that allowed them to learn from every encounter and pass that knowledge to newly created siblings. Within hours of the first major engagement, Earth's Guardian swarm numbered in the thousands. Within a day, they numbered in the millions. The Zephyrian fleet, for all its power and experience, was facing an enemy that grew stronger and more numerous with each battle. Commander Vortak's final Stanthane Vortak stood on the bridge of his flagship, as Guardian bioships swarmed around the remnants of his once mighty fleet. Of the 200 vessels he had brought to crush humanity, fewer than 50 remained operational. The rest had been consumed by creatures that turned Zephyrian technology against itself. All remaining ships formed defensive formation around the Bloodstar Dominion, he ordered, though he knew the gesture was futile. The bioships had learned to coordinate their attacks with perfect precision, and they showed no mercy to enemies who threatened their creators. A massive Guardian creature, grown from the absorbed remains of 20 Imperial cruisers, approached the flagship with deliberate intent. Its hull rippled with organic patterns that somehow incorporated Zephyrian armor plating and weapon systems, creating a hybrid technology that was superior to either parent design. "Sub-Commander Crix, transmit our surrender," Thane said quietly, his forearms falling to his sides in defeat. But Captain Thunder's voice responded instead, carried by bioships that had learned to interface with Zephyrian communication systems. "Commander Vortak, your empire has terrorized the galaxy for 5,000 years. Earth's Guardians offer a different path. Join us in creating a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than conquest, or be consumed like the rest of your fleet." A new galactic dawn. The news of the Crimson Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than hyperspace travel. Species that had lived in fear of Zephyrian rule for millennia began sending delegations to Earth, seeking alliance with the mysterious Guardians that had accomplished the impossible. Admiral Martinez stood in the transformed Defense Command Center, now a living fusion of human architecture and Guardian biotechnology. Representatives from dozens of species filled holographic displays, all requesting protection from remaining Imperial forces and offering their own technologies in exchange. For Guardian bio... "Dr. Chen, what's our next move?" Martinez asked. The Xenorchaeologist had become Earth's primary liaison with the Guardian systems, her mind expanded by alien knowledge that spanned millions of years. Sarah smiled as she felt the collective Consciousness of billions of guardian creatures spread throughout the solar system. We do what we were designed to do, Admiral. We explore the galaxy, establish new colonies, and protect the innocent from those who would enslave them. The age of empires is over. The age of guardians has begun. Captain Thunder, now permanently linked with Earth's defensive grid, felt the stirrings of bioships preparing for interstellar travel. The Guardian factories were already producing vessels capable of crossing galactic distances, each one carrying human crews who would establish new defensive installations on worlds throughout the galaxy. The Zephyrian Crimson Empire had ruled through fear and superior firepower. But Earth's guardians offered something far more powerful, the promise that no species would ever again face extinction at the hands of galactic tyrants. Humanity had awakened to its true purpose, and the stars themselves would never be the same.